Okay, I want everybody to imagine something for me. Think about some sort of an event. Maybe it's a concert, a sporting event, anything like that. Catherine, you're probably in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Auburn's about to kick off with Alabama. Ben, Tottenham, the Barclays Premier League Cup is on the line. JT, you're at the Falcons opening kickoff game. First game of the year, sold out crowd. Imagine all the people that you're there with. Some places hundreds of thousands of people, maybe 50,000 people. Now imagine them all dead. Welcome to Syria. Syria is located on the Mediterranean Sea on the east coast. It's a very small country. Damascus is the capital. A lot of the population has since fled the country, and they're considered refugees. Over 2 million people have fled. But over the past 2 years, Syria has been engaged in a civil war. The civil war has been amongst themselves. The government, led by al-Assad, and then the Free Syrian Army, which is mostly former military soldiers and people amongst those who have had everything taken away from them by al-Assad. And since 2011, over 100,000 people have been killed in Syria just from the civil war alone. And this isn't even counting the chemical weapons that were recently used. This is just the country fighting within itself. And that's where we have a major problem. Countries, we all know, everybody knows countries are at civil war all the time. North Korea, not South Korea. And many countries within the Middle East have all faced this. So why should any of you guys care? Well, and that was the question that a lot of you brought to me in the audience analysis. You said that it was none of our business, that we shouldn't even focus on this. Well, my goal by the end of this is to tell you that we should and give you reasons why this is an important factor and why we should go into Syria and take control of the country. Number one, Syria used chemical weapons on its own people. According to the United Nations report they released, over 1,400 people were killed alone in the span of less than a month by chemical weapons from al-Assad. These are not weapons of mass destruction, but weapons that are going to kill a lot of people, weapons that we have since gone into other countries and outlawed, and we've banned them. President Obama, he described the scene in a pretty graphic quote from one of his speeches and said that the situation profoundly changed on August 21st when Assad's government gassed to death over 1,000 people, including hundreds of children. The images for this massacre are sickening. Men, women, and children lying in rows, killed by poison gas, others foaming at the mouth, gasping for breath. A father clutching his dead children, imploring them to get up. This is stuff you're not going to see. They're not going to release pictures. You're not going to know about it. You wouldn't know about it unless President Obama had brought it to your attention. But this is common for al-Assad over there. This is what he's doing to his people, regardless of what he says. Now, according to all other UN reports, the weapons are being dismantled as we speak. And that may be true. They are in there. They are dismantling some 15 stockpiles that he has of the chemical weapons and the stockpiles. However, who's to say he can't get his hands on more? We've seen in the past, we had our issues where we went into Afghanistan, we went into Iraq because of the rumors of the weapons of mass destruction and the nuclear weapons. Of course, those were never found, and it was reported that they weren't there. However, in this situation, we know he has them. We know he has the capabilities of creating them and producing more. According to the UN treaty that has been signed, Russia and Syria are the two responsible for releasing the information of the stockpiles as well as where the chemical weapons are located. With that, we're relying on Russia's word and Syrian word, which are two allies. And of course, for those of you who don't know, Russia is Syria's major arms dealer. They supply all of Assad's people, his weapons, and Russia still has their only military base outside of the former Soviet Union is in Syria. I have a big problem with that. We're relying on Russia to get their hands on these weapons. We're relying on the Syrian government to turn them over to Russia to give us the information. Because of the United Nations Security Treaty, Russia has the power to veto any sort of sanctions that the UN decides they want to pass down onto Syria. More the reason to go in there. With Russia getting control of those, Russia still feels that they're at a Cold War state. Other allies of Syria include Iran and China. Of course, everybody knows Iran's issues with the United States. Iran hates us, they hate everything about us. And China's just in it to make money. So China's going to try and do everything they can to import and export whatever needs to be sent to Syria in order to help them. We talked about Iraq and their weapons of mass destruction. Imagine had we not gone into Iraq and searched for those weapons. Imagine if they did have them. Some of us may not be talking about this today. There could have been some sort of nuclear war. Not saying that's what Syria is going to lead to, but Syria, we already know, has the capability of producing these weapons. They already have had these weapons. Iraq and Afghanistan, to me, were a success. We went in, a lot of you may not agree, but we went in and we took out two very dangerous men in power in Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden. Because of that, that is why I feel like we need to go into Syria. We get rid of al-Assad, you take away their focal point of their government, of their regime in there, and now you take control of the country and put it under U.S. power, much like we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. The only downside, and a lot of you expressed it, was what if it leads to a war? And war is going to be inevitable at some point. One day there will be another world war. Powers are not always going to agree, but as the world power, it's our responsibility to these people to go into there and to help them out when they're in need. Everybody in here kind of agreed that the United States is the world power. They are the helping hand, and this is a country that is in need. That's why I feel like we should go in there. That's why I feel like our best option is to go in and help the country. Now, you may not know a lot about Syria. Some of you still may not be educated on it, may not follow it, may not even care. But at the end of the day, you know that Syria does have chemical weapons. They have used them on their own people. They have killed them. And the majority of the world is sitting around watching, doing nothing about it. Henry Kissinger, a former U.S. diplomat, had said it best: Arabs can't make war without Egypt, and they can't make peace without Syria.